there's a lot of different things that could be a pro and con within themselves, right? So the pros to the 4-day work week really will see companies that embrace it and don't do it begrudgingly, and they really support their staff with it. What they're really going to see is an uptick in productivity. And I'm not just saying that from hyperbole. We actually have case studies where other companies in other countries have enacted this, and they're actually seeing not only happier staff, but actually more productive staff. There's a great example from Microsoft in Japan where they did this, and this was pre-pandemic. I think it was in 2019.
Yeah.
And they saw a 40% increase in productivity, and they actually saw some savings in terms of like electrical and utility use. So there's a lot of pros that can come from that. Now, the cons that can come from it are really going to be the companies that are so heavy in the manufacturing and the assembly and trying to stagger some schedules so that they can keep their manufacturing going out the door like they're used to. That's really where some of it's going to come in. But there's also a pro to that. And here's the pro. If those companies are really good at engaging their staffs and sit down and really get creative and ideate with them, I bet you their staff will come up with ways to make it work. And this is the first time this has happened, right? In the 1900s, when we switched to a 5-day work week, everybody was up in arms about that too, and how it was going to kill jobs and people wouldn't be able to manufacture. And I think we've done just fine.
At face value, it seems that, of course, there are some businesses that are just more suitable to adapt to a diminished hour work week, right?
Yeah, there certainly are, where there's a lot more flexibility, especially if they're not actually physically making something. That's really where the difference is going to really amp those other companies up. But I'm still confident that the good manufacturers of the world will figure this out sweet time. Yeah,
it kind of puts the question out there, will having less time at work help us be more creative or innovative when we get back into the office? More time away, can maybe free the brains up and the creative juices get flowing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is one of the fundamentals that we actually teach at the Ideation Emporium of Creativity is how to do that. And when our minds are more relaxed and we're in what we call an aspiring alpha brainwave, we just have more creativity that comes out and we produce more. So the other factor of this comes into the Pareto principle, which most people know it as the 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah.
80% of our productivity comes out of 20% of our time. Well, if we're going to reduce our time at the office by 20%, we're actually, and that's more of a relaxing time, that means we're going to be cutting out some of the stuff that's actually not important. The important stuff's not going to go away. We're still going to work on that. It just means the less important stuff that tends to be filler is going to drop off. And that's where people actually get stressed, is with all the filler stuff, not the important stuff. They understand the important stuff. And they'll be able to apply more creativity and innovation to that because their brains are more relaxed. There are countries that have implemented this, and they're seeing their overall gross domestic product numbers going up. It's really that unknown. It's different. It's just not what we're used to. And we've had so much change recently. It just feels like another thing that's just going to overwhelm us. And it's really not, when you take the time to just take a breath, step back, and start talking with your staff and your employees about this and getting ahead of it before it gets implemented into law so that you can just transition more smoothly.
Microsoft was successful with this in 2019. Also, a estate planning firm in New Zealand in 2018 saw an increase, 28% staff satisfaction, staff stress levels decreased.
There are multiple companies already that have given that flexibility of a 10-hour day. Honestly, I don't know a whole lot of people that probably are working a 10-hour day and they don't even realize it. By the time that we get in and we work through lunch and some of us skip some breaks and we take work home, you're already doing it, right?
Yeah.
This just allows it to be more concentrated and you get a full extra day off. And that's where that's really going to come in. There are places that are already doing this. There's companies that have really flexible schedules on how things are happening. This is really just legislation coming into place to make sure that it's applying to everybody and giving that relaxation and that creative, innovative ability to be more productive across the board.
And of course, the California proposal would focus on large companies with 500 plus employees. But George, over 100 school districts, rural areas of the U.S., changing to a 4-day week.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of success with it. we know that there is going to be a massive shortage of teachers that's coming, and it's going to hit as early as this fall.
Yeah.
So what these school districts are seeing is they're seeing their costs have come down, their staff tends to be happier, the kids definitely are happier because it's all within their week in 4 days, so they get a longer weekend, and they're adding about an hour to the school day, and what that's really doing is just making the learning environment better all around. And then the areas where this is happening, there tends to be a little bit, as you mentioned, more of a rural area. So it's not really affecting families to the degree that it would in an urban area where a lot of people are already working 5 days a week. What we could see is actually the school districts taking the lead in helping the businesses have to adapt, because staff may say, hey, the school district, my kids are only in school 4 days a week.
Yeah.
I need more flexibility here, or we need to change something. It's really going to drive a lot of innovation on that part. Now, the downside of that is we know that about 47% of jobs that currently are out there that don't require creative, innovative thinking are going to be automated here in the next decade to 15 years. And that automation will actually allow for more flexibility within schedules too.
Huh.
So there's some things that are all kind of coming together all at the same time.